Welcome back to Uncaged Sports Talk, episode 23. Happy New Year, everyone. We're coming off of two great college football playoff games yesterday. Both came down to the wire. One went to overtime, Michigan versus Alabama. I got both my picks wrong, but in my defense, as I said last week, I'm not the biggest college football fan. This week, I think everyone's going to be picking the same team. Against the spread, I'm not sure what the spread is yet. I don't know who people are going to be picking against the spread, but most people are probably going to be picking Michigan in this matchup, Michigan versus Washington. I want to talk about those before I bring in my guest this week. That Michigan Alabama game, that play call at the end was putrid. It was I predicted what was coming in a group chat. Took a screenshot of it and sent it to other people. I was like, they're going to do a QB draw with Jalen Milroe at RPO, and there's a video where you can see that it was an RPO as well because it had the running back swing out wide. So yeah, that was just a horrible play call. I don't know what they were thinking at all. It is a 4.5-point spread. My guest looked up and put in a private chat for me. So with that spread, I still think I'd take Michigan, but that Alabama Michigan ending, like, if I knew what that play call was going to be, don't you think Michigan knew what that play call was going to be? I don't even watch college football, really. So someone that studied them for weeks and weeks, for basically a whole month, don't you think they knew exactly what play was going to be coming in that scenario? If I knew it. And then the Texas-Washington game, I can't really speak on that much, except for Michael Penix. I want to touch on him. I thought he should have won the Heisman. His numbers were insane this year, and Washington undefeated. If it was like the NFL MVP, Michael Penix would be the winner for the Heisman because he undefeated team, number 2 team in the nation, starting quarterback on that team, and really good numbers. I think he deserved that spot as the Heisman Trophy winner this year. He's been balling out, and they just keep winning, and they keep exceeding expectations. I think just about everyone was taking Texas in that game, and Washington dominated it basically from start to finish. I didn't see the ending, but I know that Texas came up short on a 4th down with 1 second to go. They were on like the 15. They came up short. But there will be an exciting game next Monday night, Michigan-Washington. That should be an exciting national championship. I'm taking Michigan in that. Now, without further ado, though, I'll be watching that game in Vegas with some other people potentially. Without further ado, I'm going to introduce my guest. Playing a free poker league with him. I was going to bring on another person, but he got sick as well. He got sick. I'm kind of sick, as you can hear. Without further ado, though, my guest, he's a huge Ravens fan, Pat McVeigh. His team name in a fantasy league we were in was Luke Sucks. And he cost me getting a bye week. It wouldn't have mattered. I actually went through and double checked all that stuff.
I would still be that team.
Yeah, my team was mid this year. You want to introduce yourself to the audience? Tell yourself who your favorite teams are in sports.
Yeah, I'm Pat. I guess my favorite teams are just the Ravens and the Sixers. I don't really watch baseball or hockey, so I don't really have a good opinion there. I do want to say that anyone who bet on college football, if you were taking the points, like if you were taking the best odds, Washington at one point was like a 1,700 favorite or plus 1,700 odds to win it all. And now, if you would have bet that, that's going to be huge money if they end up coming up and winning this game next week.
You did that ESPN bet thing that you tried to get us all to do.
You should have done it.
You put
free money.
$50 on each or whatever. It's free $50.
ESPN gave you like 4 $50 bets, and I was trying to tell everyone if you just put $50 on all 4 of the national championship game teams, like you're going to win money no matter what. And Washington had the best odds. It was like $50 will pay $375. So I've got a bunch of friends that are like patiently waiting for Washington to pull off the upset of the century right now, so they can all get paid. Some of them better be buying me some dinners after they get their money too.
Some people probably did it out in Vegas, so they might be able to buy you. Or some people that are going to Vegas probably did it, so they might be able to buy you dinner that night. So, what are your thoughts on your Ravens so far? You guys got the number 1 seed. Do you think you guys can go to the Super Bowl this year?
So
I
we're gonna go through our top 10 lists in a little bit here, but
yeah,
like I have been arguing with you the entire season that the Ravens were the best team, or at one point the second best team. The Niners were in their heyday.
yeah,
Can they go to the Super Bowl? Absolutely. But at the same regard, anyone can. If you're in the playoffs, you can make it. I've
yeah.
seen
I
six seeds win. I've seen one seeds win. It just, you got to get hot at the right time. Thankfully, the Ravens got hot, beating the Jags, the Niners, the
mm,
Dolphins all in the last 4 weeks of the season. So it's a good place to be.
when that Rams game happened, when
Yeah.
at one a few weeks ago, at first people thought that looked like a iffy win, that they barely pulled it out, but that's
Nope.
before the Rams got hot. When the Rams got hot, that makes that win look so
So
much
much better.
better, and it makes this last past Raven stretch look so much better since the
The
Rams got
Rams were
hot.
the Rams were injured. You got to remember, like they didn't have
Yeah,
Cooper Cup for half the season. Stafford went down for a bunch. Like once they and Kyron Williams was out too. So once they had
yeah,
everyone healthy, that was now like the juggernaut Rams we're seeing today. I think the Rams are a good team. I'm not gonna
yeah,
go crazy, but my initial preseason pick was Ravens Niners and Ravens Eagles. Sorry. And I was talking to
yeah.
a buddy of mine the other day, and I was like, if I had to change it, if I don't trust the Eagles anymore, I would trust the Rams more than I trust the Niners.
Yeah, I
True
probably
story.
would too, because Kyle Shanahan. Well, I'll get into that probably when I get
Yeah.
into my power rankings. Kyle Shanahan comes up small in big games, has a
Can't play from
history of
behind with
it,
Brock Purdy.
but yeah, happened in the Ravens game. What are
Yep.
your thoughts so far on like how the Ravens shape up, what their team's looking like? Yeah, I know you guys have had a bunch of injuries, which is the biggest problem. Mark Andrews going down.
Yeah. It's really
That
just Mark. Mark and
yeah,
J.K. Dobbins and
but you guys got stacked running
Keaton.
backs.
Yeah, I mean, the Ravens have
Gus
had running
Edwards
back injuries for the last 4 years, and literally you could
and
throw anyone in there, and they're going to end up running for 900 yards and a few touchdowns. It's just how it works. Melvin Gordon scored a touchdown this weekend. Okay, when was the
yeah.
last time he was relevant in football? He scored a touchdown. So I mean, I think that they
When I
stack
was
up
a
well. I
sophomore in high
think.
school.
Oh God, it'll make me feel so old. Um, So Ravens clearly have one of the best defenses in football. I think the best. They have all pros all over every level. So Kyle Hamilton should be one of the contentions for Defensive Player of the Year. Probably won't get it, but I wouldn't be surprised if he got a vote or two. Roquan's playing next level along with Pat Queen, and then Matabike is one of the best defensive tackles in football out of nowhere. So I don't know how
Mhm.
we're going to pay him next season, but while we're here this season, we're going to keep using him.
Yeah. I wanna also get your take before I get into it on my Eagles. I wanna hear your thoughts first before I get into it. It seems like more non-Eagles fans are still more positive on the Eagles than Eagles fans, and I saw you put that on your Facebook
You are
post,
the worst.
but
You are the worst. You in particular are the worst. I am all for, the team's not playing well, something's got to change. And Sirianni has said something needs to
also
change in three
sorry to
straight
interrupt.
postseasons.
If my guests can hear that in the background, there is a helicopter going by. I
No,
don't know
no,
if you
you're
can
good.
hear that.
No, I don't
So
hear anything.
and it's loud,
Good noise
but
gate filter
go
there.
ahead.
No, I was saying, so Sirianni has been saying, oh, we need to make changes, we need to address things, and then week after week, it seems like nothing changes. So the defense went from being really good against the run and really bad against the pass to being mediocre against the pass and bad against the run, with Matt Patricia now calling plays, which I don't know who thought that was a good idea. I don't know what the fix is. I mean, clearly the offense has the power to score. It's just can't understand why they can't run the ball. They have three potential Hall of Fame linemen right now. Like, I don't understand how it's so hard to run the football. And why are you running Jalen so much if Jalen's still dinged up? It just doesn't make sense. The play calling is pedestrian at best. You and I could sit here and call out what play they're about to call because it's either going to
Mhm.
be a QB draw or it's going to be a screen pass to the flats. Like, that's the only play calls they have right now. Doesn't make a lot of sense.
Just double checking. One of the problems I think with the run game might be you had Isaac Sayamalu for years. Eh, One person shouldn't make that big of a difference, but you had Isaac Sayamalu for years and years, and then he goes to Pittsburgh, and you have a new right guard, and it takes it. Your run game takes a hit.
So
It's
so run to
just
the left.
confusing.
So run to the
He
left.
was he was
Like,
right. Lane, yeah, run to the left. But it's just it's just confusing that one person goes out of your offensive line, and then your offensive line just doesn't look the same run wise. They're also not establishing the run. Like with these guys, you got to just power football early and often and set a tone. Like in
I don't
2021, when things weren't going well, they set a
yeah.
tone early and
Yeah.
often and just ran it down people's throat, which set up the
I
pass.
I'm a Ravens fan. We are big proponents of run the damn football, okay? Just and when you don't think you need to run it some more.
Yeah,
I would say that the difference between the two, right? So, you know, you guys have had, players leave and come back. You've had Lane Johnson go down for a few games. But like the line has been pretty intact. The Ravens
yeah.
have done something I haven't really seen a lot is they are literally alternating tackles in between series. So like Ronnie Stanley is our
I
big
didn't even know that.
high price, yeah, left tackle. So like he'll play 2 series and then they'll sit him an entire series so he can recuperate, rest, get his legs back under him, and then send him back out there for the 4th series. They've been doing it the last few games, and it's crazy to think about. Like no one I've ever seen has ever done that, and now it's working. I mean, the guys are coming in fresh late and able to, block Nick Bosa and all those guys. So
It's
whatever it
it's
is,
almost
it's different and
how
working.
it's almost how teams do a rotation with their defensive line.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
how it almost sounds like. That's I
It's
didn't even know
weird,
they were
but like,
doing that.
yeah,
That's
the Ravens been doing it for the past few weeks. I mean, they were
maybe
worried Ronnie Stanley was going to get injured again and he wouldn't be available for the playoffs. So it's like trying to like conserve his energy. But Moses Malone on the right side, like he is 30 something years old too. So like you gotta give these guys rest. It's like pulling bench players out in basketball. Like your bench players are going to go in, give your starters some relief, and then put your starters back in.
my biggest concern with the Eagles though right now, back to the Eagles, is
Yeah,
just the chemistry just doesn't seem right. It's not even chemistry with the players anymore. There's a big disconnect between the players and the coaches. After the Giants game, you saw Nick Sirianni yelling at one of his own coaches, Hassan Reddick, AJ Brown giving him a side eye. That's where the big problem lies. You had a Marcus Hayes report this week for the Philadelphia Inquirer, Philly Voice, one of the two. Marcus Hayes said AJ Brown won't speak because the reason he won't speak is because he is pissed at coaching. He's just the only one who basically wears his emotions on his sleeve. Except
I don't
by the
know.
time this podcast comes out, AJ Brown will have talked. He will be talking Wednesday, which will be yesterday by the time this podcast comes out. So we will have new news on how that went. And AJ Brown actually, for all the like AJ Brown's a bad teammate stuff that the Philly media is making up, that's a bad spin too, because he just took like the team out for a team bonding thing today. Jordan Mailata said on Philly radio, they all went to an escape room to try to get their mind off of stuff and hopefully
It doesn't track for
build
me
some
either.
chemistry back up.
I mean, AJ Brown is just a passionate player.
Yeah,
I don't have a problem with that. The history of wide receiver divas and all about me guys is so long I can't even name them all. I don't see that with
starts
AJ
with
Brown. I see a guy who just wants to win.
I think what scares Eagles fans
The TO
is
experience.
Terrell Owens. I was not old enough, but if
No.
that happened nowadays,
If
that
AJ
would
Brown
be
starts bench pressing in his driveway, we got problems for sure.
that would
That
be
was
the
that was
biggest
the
sports story
man,
ever.
that was peak Eagles crash. Like oh man, I love
It,
that. That was a great moment.
if that happened nowadays on Twitter,
Oh,
Twitter
he'd
would
be dead.
explode.
Yeah, he would be dead. That would be crazy. Eagles fans would be
That
calling for his head tomorrow.
my biggest thing too with the play calling too. The play calling is putrid. Like
It's your
that
word today,
last
putrid.
I've been using that ever since they've been in this bad slide. It's just, but the play calling is just really bad. You first
It
and
is.
20, QB draw. Second and 16. What do? Same exact play, QB draw.
Yep.
And then third and 20. What do? Wide receiver screen with Devontae Smith blocking, and he gets hurt on the play. Devontae Smith, if you're doing a wide receiver screen, shouldn't be blocking first of all. Should be AJ Brown or
Wow.
Julio.
I
Like
was I saw Sirianni, who had a presser yesterday, or the day before, where he was talking about the 2nd and 16 play. He was like, "Well, we just went to something we didn't think they'd be prepared for it." Well, like they stopped at the last play. What do you mean they weren't prepared?
Yeah,
They did it just the play before.
I I think I like the tweet. Brian Johnson in his press conference on Tuesday today said they did it to think thought they weren't going to be ready for it, tried to catch the Cardinals off guard. So you're trying to outsmart the other team. I get sometimes that's part of the game, but you're outsmarting yourself with a play
But
call like that.
has Hurts looked good to you? Like in the past few weeks, like he looks like he's laboring his leg the whole game. He doesn't have the
This
explosiveness he's had. So why do you keep
th-
running him to begin with? You have Devontae Smith Devontae Smith. You have Swift back there who can
yeah,
run the ball.
you have Penny
Just let
who
him run.
actually activated instead
Yeah,
of Bradley Roby was actually playing solid. Then you activated Penny and
yeah.
deactivated Roby. Makes no
Wow.
sense.
Well, Roby's not good. We've talked
But
about this.
it just makes no sense activating Penny and you don't even use him when your defense gave up 35. The thing was encouraged about, the only bright spot I was encouraged about passing wise from the game, Hurts was 18 for 23, only missed 5 passes, and one of those was a drop by Devontae Smith, which would have been a huge play. Then the other one was a Hail Mary that was just
Yeah,
a
just a
heave
gimme. Yeah.
that got picked. So he only missed 3 passes the entire game.
Well, drop still
Granted,
counts.
some of those are
Yeah,
wide
yeah.
receiver screens, but
I
3 passes the
I
entire
feel better
game.
than you do. I feel much better than you do. Like I have seen teams struggle and then pull it together and then get better. I've seen,
Yeah,
winning caliber teams are still winning caliber teams. Chiefs are struggling the past few weeks too. They're pulling out bad wins, just like the Eagles have been doing all season. But do you not trust Pat Mahomes in the playoffs?
I trust them more because it's Pat Mahomes and Andy Reid. Because Andy Reid,
I mean, Hurts
I
has been
trust.
playing. Hurts last playoffs was lights out. He did great, even in the
I,
Super Bowl.
I
Like you could have won that game very easily with one bad penalty at the end. Like
I think
I
it's
don't
a
know,
lot more
man.
just because the Andy Reid aspect of it compared
Sure,
to the Nick
Sirianni.
Sirianni aspect of it. Nick Sirianni, I've been saying it since the Cowboys game, maybe, or after the Seahawks game. I may have said it. And I heard someone on the radio make the comparison as well. Nick Sirianni is starting to look like the new Jason Garrett.
Oh God.
Jason Garrett was the clapper. Nick Sirianni is the yeller.
I think it's ever since Dom got kicked off the field. Ever since Dom got
Yeah,
kicked off the field,
I
he doesn't know who it is anymore.
I wish I could post that video. There was a clip. There's a Eagles fan. His name's E-Rock. He posted a video of his kid talking about like Dom DeSandro, thinking Dom they're 1-4 without Dom DeSandro. Maybe he's the
See,
missing piece.
that's it. It's the
It's
mojo that he
just
gives, the vibes.
now something I have wanted to give a point on all week. I've been telling my dad about it and other people. I told someone at work today. The Matt Patricia thing. There was a report this weekend that he actually took over third down play calling after the bye week. So that's dysfunction there in itself. The fact you have one one person doing
Yeah,
play
no,
calls for
for
first and
two
second
downs.
down, and then someone doing third down, that's dysfunction in itself. And then that's when the sacks problem started. After you weren't
I
getting
mean,
sacks after the bye week,
you weren't getting
and you
sacks
weren't
like you were
stopping the
last
running.
year. Last year, the team had an
And
all-time high in sacks. Like there was no way they were
it,
going to duplicate that. But like you didn't expect them to go from 70 last year to 40 this year, something like that.
yeah, I want to pull this up. I Here's a stat I could find out. It's without pulling like all the stats up from all the games.
Sure.
Hassan Reddick and Josh Sweat since like the bye week, before they combined for like 16 sacks, maybe, or were combined for like 12 sacks or something high, double
Sure.
digits in the first half of the year. Since the bye week, they've had 2.5 sacks combined. For the people watching on YouTube, there is glitching going on Pat's screen.
Yeah, I got rid of the background. I think the background was killing me.
Yeah, I just noticed
I was
that.
like, what is
But
going on right now?
but
It's better now. Look, you can see my doggy.
ever since the bye week, there's been a huge sack problem with And that's when Patricia took over. So there's a
Well,
huge
and
correlation with that.
turnovers. And
Yeah.
turnovers. You're not getting the turnovers you were getting early.
I heard a stat today too. They were number 1 in run defense in the first 9 weeks of the season. Then the bye
Nah,
week
number
happened.
6. Number 6.
Yeah. And now they're 32nd ever since the bye week.
Yeah, but the bleeding was really bad in the safeties and corners, right? You were giving up all kinds of
Yeah.
pass plays. Then Patricia took over. You stopped giving up the big pass plays, and now everyone can run all over you. You got to pick
I
a
also
poison, I guess.
I also saw something that didn't make any sense. We had Brandon Graham drop in the coverage. Brandon Graham dropping in the coverage.
I don't get it.
I'm not a coach, but that's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. Brandon Graham's a defensive end. He should not be dropping in the coverage trying to cover someone like a linebacker. That makes no sense whatsoever.
It's not that he's a defensive end, right? Because Max Crosby will drop into coverage every now and then. TJ Watt will drop into coverage every now and then. It's that Brandon Graham is 35. Okay.
Yeah.
You can't be my age and dropping into coverage anymore. Like that's not good for anybody.
Well,
it's not
the
good.
difference with like the TJ Watt though, Max Crosby's more closer to Brandon Graham's position, but TJ Watt more like the Reddick position. I see the dropping in the coverage there. They're more the edge rusher. Brandon Graham plays defensive tackle sometimes for us, but you have him dropping in the coverage as a linebacker. That makes no sense.
No, I agree with you.
Like that's so idiotic. The biggest thing right now is a coaching problem with the Eagles. Like the talent's for the most part the same. It's coaching problem on offense, and since Patricia took over, there's been some weaknesses in the defense.
So let me be the host for a second as my camera still glitches out. I apologize. I don't know what the heck's going on. How do you fix it? So you have 1 game left, right? You got to win this week. Then what do? You're going to go in Tampa Bay and just expect to win because Tampa Bay's not a great team, or are you going to figure out something you could change?
You need to establish a run game. Sirianni take over play calling because Brian Johnson has not been great.
Yeah, but so hold on.
Change something.
When has Sirianni been a good play caller?
I mean, maybe he's learned. I got no answer to that.
But like I'm just saying, like sometimes you get what you ask for, and sometimes what you ask for is not really what you want. Because like John Harbaugh's a great coach. John Harbaugh will not ever be a play caller on offense or defense, right? That's not what he is there for. He hires coordinators, they do their job. So is Sirianni able to do it? Is Sirianni just a coach, right? Because head coaches have a different responsibility than a play caller and an offensive defensive coordinator. So I don't know if he's capable. So if you don't have him as the option, and Brian Johnson, who was once 9 weeks into the season supposed to be the next head coach for a team because his offense was doing so well, now everyone's trying to write him and the defensive coordinator out of town. So I don't know what you do. I don't know how you fix it. I just know something's got to fix.
Maybe you switch it up. But I got a potential answer.
You just Google the coaching.
I pulled up. I heard the name this week. He's our senior offensive assistant. He was an offensive consultant last year. He was a Colts offensive coordinator in 2021, 2022, and their QB coach in 19 and 20. Marcus Brady. Maybe you make him your offensive coordinator. See what he has. Because at this point,
isn't that the 20-year-old
just feels like
guy?
A sinking ship. What was that?
Is Marcus Brady like the 20-year-old kid?
Marcus Brady is 44.
Okay.
We have it's our QB coach who's like young. I forget.
Okay.
Alex Taney's our QB coach. Maybe you give Marcus Brady play calling.
Something.
It switches something up. Maybe it rejuvenates the team. I think
so it's not a player issue.
I think what's gonna have to get it switched though, it's gonna be like a thing the players just have to say screw it, and despite the coach, and rally around the veterans like Jason Kelsey, rally around the Brandon Grahams, Fletcher Coxes, and say,
well, how about your
screw it, let's go play
quarterback?
Let's go play hard for these veterans who it might be their last ever run with the Eagles. Let's go try to do the job for them.
$250 million quarterback. You should be rallying around that guy. Hurts needs to be the catalyst. That's the whole point of signing him.
I
You
I
jumped
just pulled
ahead.
this up. I accidentally pulled it up and it was out of there because I exited out before we came in here.
It's
So
all good.
I'll pull it up now. I wanted to bring this up because it goes to the rallying around, and Hurts does need to be the catalyst too. Yeah, him sitting on the sideline is a problem. He needs to, even if he's not going to be rah rah, get your guys excited. But I wanted to pull this up. Speaking of the rallying behind like a player, in 2012, this was from James Nagel of NFL.com, I believe. I guess based off his Twitter handle. 2012 Ravens, they lost 2 of their last 5. They only won 2 of their last 5. Eagles had the same exact path from week 12 to 17. As you can see if you're watching on YouTube. Win, loss, loss, win, loss. And then in 2012, Ravens 352 yards per game, only allowed 350 yards per game, had 2 losses by 17 plus points, lost to a 4-win team, fired their offensive coordinator. 2023 Eagles 357 yards per game, allowed 350 yards per game, 2 losses by 17 plus points, lost to a 4-win team, and fired their defensive coordinator in week 14.
It's
Very
crazy how close
similar
that is.
comparisons.
It's crazy.
It's weird how like eerily similar both are, and both
The only
have
difference is that there's an
veterans
extra
who could
game too.
retire.
You
Yeah,
got the Eagles are going to have an extra game here in a week, next week or
Eagles
this week, I should say.
Eagles have an extra game where they can maybe get it right. The biggest difference
Yeah.
is with that stretch, like you said before coming on here, Ray Lewis was hurt beforehand. So
Yeah,
that's the biggest difference with it. But
well, I mean,
like
it
the
doesn't
tweet
matter.
says,
You're right. It's close.
you gotta try to rally behind a player like Jason Kelsey, who this could be his last ever ride. Send him off on a high note. Spite to hell with the coaches. If AJ Brown, if you don't like Nick Sirianni, to hell with him. Go do it for Jason Kelsey. Go out
Everyone
there.
loves Kelsey.
If Jalen Hurts, if you don't like the play calling, if you don't agree with any of the play calls, go change up the play call. Screw the coaches. What are they going to do if the play call actually works? Bench you?
Yeah, really.
Just,
No, there's zero
like,
chance that happens.
go out there, change the play call, and do a play call that you guys actually agree with.
I like how like this year you're trying to compare yourself to the 2012 Ravens. Last year it was like, oh no, we're like the 12-0 Dolphins. Like we're gonna win all the games. No, I mean it was good. I mean that season,
Yeah.
and you're a little too young for that. It was a long time ago now, but like
I remember
that season
it.
was bad. Like we had written
I
off that
remember the
season.
ending of it.
The team started so good, such a good start, and then Ray gets hurt, and there's a couple other injuries, and then it just the offense stops working. We can't score points. The defense without Ray was just a rudderless ship. And then, they make it to the playoffs and Ray comes back with his bionic arm and Joe Flacco does the improbable. Like Joe Flacco has the single best playoff run of any quarterback ever. Earned himself $130 million and made me hate him even more. I love you, Joe.
Joe might be playing you guys in a few weeks, which we can get into that in the power rankings and all.
Yeah.
But I was going to play a clip of Emmanuel Acho talking about the Lions and the Cowboys thing, but since I want to speed that part up, I want to give my thoughts on that, and then I'll ask your thoughts. Or actually ask your thoughts, and I'll give mine right after. What are your thoughts on that debacle?
So there was like 18 different views and angles and all 22, and like I haven't seen them all. I've seen enough to know enough. The lineman clearly walked up, and I guess they called the wrong lineman as the eligible player. The ineligible player ended up catching the touchdown. So I'll go with this. First, I love the gigantic balls on MCDC saying we're going to go win this game. Like not caring about it, saying we are going for the win. I love it. After the penalty, though, I'd kick the field goal. Like I don't like going for it 3 times in a row. I definitely think that the first play was a fantastic play call, and if the eligibility part was right and the ref screwed up, then obviously you got to take care of the refs that way. But like if not, it is what it is. after you don't get it, you have to kick the field goal there. You can't go for it, a 2-point conversion from the 7-yard line, and then they get another penalty, move closer. It's like, come on, man! Like, you're giving you all the opportunities just to tie this game and get to overtime, and at that point you're still playing for the first round bye. The Niners theoretically could lose
Mhm.
next week and give a shot.
Yeah.
So I mean, I love the first play call. When it didn't work, I say you go for the field goal. But you,
With the I think it was very ballsy. That was idiotic going for that the second time around. But with the play call they had, I mean, not the play call, the officiating aspect of it, my take on it at the games, and you can hear it in the video clip. The ref clearly says number 70 is eligible. Even if he did get confused, there is the aspect of the Cowboys as well. They weren't defending 68 because they didn't say he was eligible. If they said 68 was eligible, they may have defended 68 differently. So that play goes completely different.
you never know.
And
I mean, that's the
then,
what if game.
yeah. And then the other thing is, if you're the Lions and number 70 isn't who you want it to be eligible, why don't you stop something? Even if they're going to try to give you a delay a game, throw a fit then.
Well,
you throw a fit.
but getting delay a game there is
Yeah.
just as bad as the ineligible player. So
I
mean, I don't know. I don't.
Then
It's
the
just
ref looks
obviously
bad, and
Yeah,
you
I know. Yeah, but the
plead
ref
your
can look
case,
bad, and
say
it's
that's not
okay.
who he wanted.
The ref tripped Lamar, laughed in the end zone. Everyone thought it was funny until the Ravens won by 12. So, like, I mean,
That was horrible.
yeah, no.
It's just like
That's a safety.
yeah. If you're the Lions, just why not stop them and just say, "Yo, that's not who we wanted to be the eligible guy." Like, you announced the wrong guy.
Or audible out of it and pick a
68 was
different play.
supposed to be eligible.
If you know
And
that
then
player's not eligible, you can audible still. You can always change the play right then and there.
yeah, they could have changed the play too. They could have switched it, flipped it, and thrown it to number 70.
Yep.
Just flipped all the routes, had the guys flip, and Dallas would have been thrown off. Dallas would have been like, "What the hell are they doing? You have 2 offensive linemen flip on the play, run
Yeah, I
across the
mean,
formation and change sides."
I
They would have been
still,
like,
I
"What is
mean,
this?"
I don't know. I'd like the Lions to win that game. I thought they were going to win that game. I still think that they should have won that game.
Eagles would still
I'm
be
not a big
in
believer.
2
I'm not a
seed
believer
or
in
3
Dallas.
seed.
I'm more of a believer in the Eagles right now than I am Dallas. Dallas just has a history of choking, and they gave you another choke job, and the ref screwed it up. Like, that's what happened.
I want to get into before we get into some Vegas talk, because I'll do that before we wrap up the show and all.
Sure.
I want to get into your power rankings, and then I'll do mine, and I'll give my thoughts on yours, and then you give your thoughts on mine after.
Yours are wrong, mine are
So
right.
here is Pat's power rankings. He can go through them for the people on Spotify and Apple Podcast. We'll say the numbers out loud and where each team ranks. You can go through and give like your your reasons.
So I do this every week, and me and Luke share our list usually every week, and his are always wrong and mine are always right, which is how it always works. So at number 1, I have the Ravens. They are, I think, now clearly the best team in football, even though they still don't have the Vegas odds as the Super Bowl favorites, which is just strange to me. They beat the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 6th ranked team on this list within the past 8 weeks or so, because the lines were a little bit further back. It's hard to argue against it. They're going to have beaten 6 or 5 or 6 of the playoff teams that are in the playoffs this year, including the Browns, which they split with. So Ravens at 1, Niners at 2. Again, this is like a no-brainer for me. The Niners are the best team in the NFC. The Ravens are the best team in the AFC. The Niners, I just think that if they can get off to a fast start, they're going to beat everyone. And that includes the Ravens. I think they can absolutely beat the Ravens if the right situation comes down to it. Purdy doesn't throw 18 interceptions. So third is
to cut you off for 1 second with that. Yeah. People who have watched this podcast all NFL season know I have said that about the Niners every single week. It's like a broken record. If they get a lead, they're unbeatable. And I'll probably say it again in about 5 minutes.
30 seconds. All right, so let's go number 3. I kept the Dolphins at 3. I know the Dolphins just lost by 37 points or whatever, but the Niners lost by double-digit points 2 weeks ago, and they didn't move down either. Like,
Mhm,
occasionally, you're gonna come into a team that has your number. It's always happens. Every team on this list has bad losses. The Ravens lost to the Colts early in the season. It's going to happen every team, every season. So, do you knock them for losing to the best team in football, or do you knock them for barely beating a bad team or losing to a bad team? Like that's more important to me. So I kept the Dolphins at 3. The Bradley Chubb injury is scary. Waddle not being there this past week probably hurt them more than they realized because we just double covered Tyreek the entire game and it was working. 4 and 5 are the ones that are going to be a little bit shocking to people not seeing the list right now. I kept the Lions at 4 because overall, I still think the Lions are a great team. They have a double-headed running attack. Jared Goff is the best above average quarterback. Like he's not a top 5 guy, but he does everything in his power not to lose you the game. Sometimes he makes a boneheaded play, but with Laporta and Amon-Ra St. Brown, like they just have too many weapons to not trust them to make it work. And then Aiden Hutchinson, who
mhm.
I thought was going to be the player of the year, defensive player of the year this year, has been coming on the last couple of weeks. And I think he had 3 sacks this weekend. I think it was 3. He's just a
Yeah.
beast. And then right below them at 5 is the Cowboys. The Cowboys are there by virtue of the Eagles sucking worse. I don't trust the Cowboys. I think that Dak has played a really good season. I think the defense is a fraud. I think that they are terrible when it comes to running the football. I think Tony Pollard was a better secondary guy than a first guy, and it's really shown all season long. Then 6 is my quasi favorite from the NFC is the Rams. We talked about it already, but I'll just reiterate.
Mhm.
When that offense is going, I think they're probably the most talented offensive group in football. Like Puka and Cooper Kupp are just scary together, and then Kyron Williams has come on like no one's business. Didn't expect it from him. Didn't have any idea who he was, except in a dynasty league draft. Somebody picked him up. I was like, oh, that's an interesting pick. That looks like a bad one. And sure enough, that was a Super Bowl winning pick for that guy. 7 is the Bills. No team has a higher high or a lower low than the Bills on this list. When the Bills are hot, they can be a great team. I have no idea what happened to Stephon Diggs. Dalton Kincaid, too. Like they had offense going for a while there, and now the offense isn't going at all. Still not going to count out Josh Allen. Like he has the ability. He is going to end up as the runner-up and MVP to Lamar. 8
Mhm.
is the Browns, the scariest team on this list for me as a Ravens fan, because if Joe Flacco comes in second round of the playoffs to the bank and beats the Ravens, I will probably drive to Joe's house and punch him in the face. I probably won't do that. He's a very large man, actually. But
Delaware
yeah, like
alumni, fellow Delaware
yeah,
alumni.
I played beer pong with Joe. Joe's a good, cool dude. That was long before you were alive. I think that was a long time
I
ago
was
when Joe
probably
was at
alive.
UB. Yeah. You're
Yeah.
probably little. Yeah.
I was in elementary school, and
Oh
then I
God, that's so old.
graduated 15 years later from the same school he graduated from.
God, that's so long ago. What
And
did he
this
come out
year
in
I graduate, he's
2008?
doing this. What was that?
2008. I think he came out in 2008 with draft.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it was 2008. Yeah, because it was
yeah.
after his rookie deal. He got his second contract. Yeah.
I was in 3rd grade.
Oh God. All right, I gotta go, man. This is terrible. But like Joe's Joe, right? Like he has the strongest arm of any quarterback you'll ever see throw a football. He will make a beautiful pass, and then he will throw the ball directly into the hands of a linebacker for no reason whatsoever. All those people shocked and Njoku's doing well has never seen a game where he had Dennis Pitta, and Dennis Pitta was his best friend. Joe loves his tight ends. He's going to get them the
Todd
ball.
Heap.
And when Todd Heap was a little bit older at that point. When Dennis Pitta came, look at the stats for Dennis Pitta when we're done this. Like Dennis Pitta was his guy, and it was great. So I trust Joe enough to get this team to the playoffs. I don't know if I actually trust him to actually win a playoff game on the road. It's going to be
Yeah.
tough. They go to the Lions or the Cowboys. I don't see them beating either one of them, even though I don't like the Cowboys. I just don't like the Browns even more. Number 9, we got 2 left. 9 is the Chiefs. If you want to go try out for the Chiefs wide receiver room, you probably have a good shot of making it. Aside from Rashee Rice, I don't know what happened to any of those guys' hands. Like I remember all the Nelson Aguilar memes from a couple years ago for the Eagles when he couldn't
Catching
catch
babies.
anything. Yeah, couldn't catch a baby. That was a good one. Nelson Aguilar, by the way, is playing great for the Ravens this year. Thank you for him.
Yeah.
Everyone else on the Chiefs, not good at all. MVS lost his ability to catch footballs. Doesn't make sense. Mecole Hardman is now back and doesn't play. Jerick McKinnon looks like he could be a help out of the backfield if they do that, but it's usually just run the ball, Pacheco, and hope for the best. And I think that's the best course of action. Defense still good. Offense terrible.
The problem with them, Andy Reid, when it matters, Andy Reid's a great coach, but he also has had a history of getting pass happy. Like,
But it's because you have the great like you got to remember Andy Reid started with McNabb back in the day. Like McNabb was a great passing quarterback. I hated him, but he was a great passing quarterback.
my
And they
dad
always had
hated
decent
him.
weapons. Yeah, I'm sure. But like he had Mahomes, or he had before that he had
Alex Smith.
Alex Smith. I was blanking on his name.
Yeah.
Alex Smith was another good quarterback, and then Mahomes now is one of the best quarterbacks to ever play football. Like if you have Mahomes, you should be able to throw the football. But if the other guy can't catch the football, doesn't matter how good the throw is, and they can't catch the football, just throw it to Rashee Rice. I don't know, Travis Kelce is too busy listening to Red on repeat in his bedroom or Cardigan or whatever the hell Taylor Swift album he's doing. Not that that's an excuse. Everyone else has families too. It's not a big deal. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens. The Chiefs are still a dangerous team anytime Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid are in the playoffs. And then last but not least is the Eagles. I almost took the Eagles off the list. Almost. If the Jags would have looked, even though they had a good game, if they would have looked better in the past couple of weeks, if they'd had a healthy Trevor in their team, I would probably feel more comfortable with them. Same thing with the Bucks, same thing with the Colts and the Texans. If any one of those teams stood out any better than they are right now, the Eagles would not be on this list. But the Eagles are here. They are a playoff team. They have just as good a chance as anyone else. They have the ability to get hot. Whether they do or not is honestly just totally up to them, like we talked about. So that's my top 10.
Before I actually don't mind this list. There's a few little things about it. Top 2 are going to be obvious.
Yeah.
And my only things I'll have changed. I'd like to keep teams in like certain ranges. So like Dolphins, Lions, Cowboys, 3 through 5. That's good. I'd move the Bills up into that range and maybe the Chiefs. So like my ranges are Dolphins, Lions, Cowboys, Bills, Chiefs in the 3 through 7 range, and then Rams, Browns, Eagles. If you alternate any of those. But for the most part, it's fairly similar.
You have the same 10 teams?
Yeah, it's the same 10 teams. I actually have the Jaguars you mentioned at 11.
Okay.
It's just a little flip-floppy with some of the I think we might have the same top 5.
Just in different order.
No, we have the same top. No, just the different orders. Not the same
just
top 5.
Bring it up. Bring it
I
up.
got the Bills up higher. Before I bring it up, though, I want to bring up some playoff scenarios. I meant to do this earlier on.
Okay.
Some playoff scenarios. I'm going to run through these for people watching that don't know some of them. And these are the basically short version of it all. Adam Schefter posted all of them if you want to go look at that on Twitter. If Bills win, they win the AFC East. But if they lose and Pittsburgh beats Baltimore and the Jaguars beat the Titans, they miss the playoffs.
It's crazy.
Which can very well happen because Baltimore might wind up resting people.
No, it's still a pride game. It's still a pride game. Boys don't lose that game. We got to beat the Steelers just to beat the Steelers.
Then Colts, Texans win and in. Whichever one of those teams wins, they're in. Jags win and they win the AFC South. And then to the NFC, there's a lot of scenarios with here, but I wrote down a way to keep it short and sweet for most of it. If the Bucks beat the Panthers, they win the South. If they lose, the winner of Saints Falcons wins the division. And then if the Packers beat the Bears, they're in. If they lose, though, the Seahawks, Saints, Vikings all have a shot. The Seahawks would be the first team in line, but if the Seahawks lose, then it would go to the Saints potentially. Then potentially the Vikings if the Saints lose. So the Vikings need a lot to happen. The Vikings need a miracle. But those are the short and sweet of most of the playoff scenarios to keep it short and sweet for the listeners.
Yeah, I mean, the Vikings have been through like 8 quarterback, so I can't imagine them
Yeah.
making it.
Yeah, they're gonna need a miracle, but that spread's only 3.5. That spread was weird to me.
I
I
agree. I
was
think that Jordan
scared
Love
to
is
pick
going to
it.
ball out. He's going to make the playoffs in his rookie year, or not rookie year, but his NBA level rookie year,
Yeah.
and it's going to be a pretty good thing for them. I'm excited for him.
Now for my list, I do the trending up and down. Trending down is the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers trend down after that loss to the Saints. A loss to the Saints is they look bad in that loss. And at 15, there's 15 just feels like a good spot for them. They're an above average team, an average
Yeah,
team.
slightly
They
above.
moved down 5 spots, but 15's just like perfect for them. The Packers
got
moved back up 6. What was that?
Hold on. Let's go through your list real quick because I think the people who can't
I'll
see
wind
this
up
need to be
breaking down each
shocked.
spot.
Okay. I'll wait till you get there because it's not going to take that long because the first two are pretty quick.
Yeah. The Packers, I have them
Yeah.
at 16. There's nothing really about this. They've been inconsistent, but they got back on a winning track. They go up +6. And we got some of these teams that you mentioned in the like range, like the Jags, the Texans, the Colts, all in that range between those teams for the most part,
Sure.
near the top 10.
Packers
But
are
the
pretty low
Browns,
considering. Hold on,
what
Packers
was that?
though. The Packers seem pretty low considering that they're a winning in team. Like if only 14 teams make the playoffs, the Packers should be at
the
least one of those options.
the problem with the Packers on it is just their recent stretch was hideous until hideous is a
This
good
week,
word for it until this week.
it's not putrid. That's just
They
hideous.
only beat the Panthers by 3, lost to the Bucks by 14, lost to the Giants. Like those are 3 horrible weeks when it
The
matters
passing
most.
paisano though.
Tom, like yeah, you lost to
Tommy
Tommy
Cutlets.
DeVito. Like that's not a good win. So they slid down a lot. This win though this week helps them move back up to about middle of the pack. And then if
Sure.
they win this week, they'll get back to where a
I mean, there's
playoff
only
team should
14
be.
next week. Yeah, there's 14
So yeah.
teams next week to talk about. So yeah.
And then coming in at number 10 is the Browns. I've been a little late to the party on moving them up. I've slowly been moving them up +2.
I see that.
It's the turnovers for Flacco that worry me. It's their defense is really good.
Great.
They have the talent on offense around Flacco. It's those turnovers.
It's
Those
notorious
turnovers
for them.
gotta bite them in the butt eventually.
Yes, it's called
And
next
it's
week in the playoffs.
a 40-year-old QB. I feel like just 10's a perfect spot for them. Most of those teams above them, I think, in a playoff game would be able to beat the Browns because I think those
Okay.
turnovers will come back to bite Flacco against most of those teams.
Okay.
Only team that wouldn't be able to take advantage of it is the Eagles. Eagles can't seem to get a pick unless it's a miscommunication.
Let's say Eagles
That's
don't
the
have
only
any
stop we
turnovers
had.
lately, so yeah.
But the Rams come in at number 9. I could move the Rams up higher on this list. I wouldn't have a problem with that. The Rams, their problem is going to be their defense to a degree. Their defense has been inconsistent throughout the year. And their offense is looking really good, though. Their offense, as good as any offense in the league right now.
A lot of this
Kyron
stuff is built
Williams
on
has,
momentum, though. You got to remember,
yeah.
momentum is a big deal in football, and they've got it right now.
Sorry for people watching. I had to take a drink. I got clogged. Still kind of got a cold. Coming over that. Hopefully, I'll be over by tomorrow morning when I get up for this Vegas trip.
12
But
hours.
gonna speed through this with the timing we're at in the video as well. Got the Rams at 9, and Pat can give his thoughts at the end of it too, so I can speed through it. Got the Rams at 9. You could easily make a case for them at 6. I like the case you had for them at 6, but you can also make a case that the teams ahead of them in a playoff matchup could be able to beat them based off the track record. Like the Eagles already beat the Rams in a game when the Rams had Stafford, Kyron was there at the time. Cup. It was Cup's first game back, but they beat them by double digits on the road. So it's more a track record thing for the teams ahead of them.
Sure.
The Eagles come in at 8. We already went over the Eagles for the most part. It's it's just concerning with the Eagles right now. The Eagles look like they're going to be a one and done team. The Rams are hot right now, which is the case for having the Rams ahead of them. But the Eagles did beat them, which is the only reason I got the Eagles ahead of the Rams. And then the Chiefs coming at number 7. The Chiefs did beat the Eagles. I mean, the Eagles did beat the Chiefs, but it's more just an Andy Reid thing. The difference between these two teams is the coaching. Who do you trust more? Nick Sirianni, Andy Reid. Everyone
Big Red.
would say Andy Reid.
Big Red.
The Lions come in at number 6. The Chiefs offense hasn't been good, but they come in at number 7. No one would put any of those other teams ahead of them. Lions come in at number 6. I got Lions at number 6 here just because the loss to the Cowboys. Granted, they only lost by 1 on the road, but I tend to favor like head-to-head matchups a lot in my power rankings for the most part when I put teams into their tiers. So that was the outcome for the Lions coming in at number 6, right below the Cowboys. Their offense is scary, dangerous. Their defense could be a downfall. But if they can run the ball and control the clock with David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs and use play action with Goff to Amon-Ra, that offense is scary good. You got to just control the clock with that running game. Don't let your defense on the field. Coming in and they can make some damage in the playoffs. Coming in at number 5 is the Cowboys. We have the Cowboys right at the same spot. They're just there right now. They're in a slide. Only reason they're gonna be the number 2 seed is because the Eagles literally handed them the division, going 1-5 or one win in their last 5 games. Eagles literally handed the Cowboys the division. So the Cowboys are gonna get the 2 seed. They come in at number 5. They still got the offense. Tony Pollard isn't what people expected him to be. I think him getting a larger role, I expected when he got a larger role. Like, he was great in a tandem, but everyone loves the backup. Everyone loves like the number 2 guy until they become the starter. That's a quote that Donovan McNabb had, which is very what's the word for that? Evident right there. They lost Zeke, and now Pollard isn't what he was without a 2 running back system. Cowboys come in at number 5. They have the talent, but it's just will they get over the hump. Dolphins come in at number 4. Their injuries are piling up for them, but they still got Tyreek Hill. Raheem Mostert's been really good this year. Well, if he can come back healthy. It seems like a lot of their injuries are minor, except for the Bradley Chubb one. So they should have their offense in full effect come playoff time. So I didn't drop them far. We both have them around the same range. Dolphins have their offense is scary good. They can compete with anyone on this list. Coming in at number 3 is the Bills. The Bills are there because of who they beat. The Bills are so inconsistent. They could miss the playoffs, which is insane. But then they go ahead and beat the Dolphins. They go ahead and beat the Cowboys. They beat the Chiefs. Only team they lost to in the top 10 is the Eagles. They beat all those other teams. I don't know if they played the Rams, but I think they beat all those other teams in the top 10 so far that they've played.
Well, they didn't play the Ravens either, but yeah.
Yeah. And then
I mean, that's crazy high for me, but yeah.
For the top, it's just a matter of who they beat. They're just inconsistent, though. Like,
if they lose this week, they're going to go from. Hold on. If they lose this week, they're going to go from number 3 to number 15 immediately because they're out of the playoffs.
I won't drop. I won't drop them out of the playoffs because I like to keep like a full rankings for everything. So they'll probably drop if they lose this week.
We'll talk.
They'll
we'll
probably
talk about
drop
that
to
later.
like 8,
15.
But
you can't be ranked if you're not even in the game anymore. If you're at home watching football, you can't be ranked. That's the rule.
They're the most inconsistent team right now.
Agreed.
Now for the top 2. The rest of this list is a crapshoot. The top 2, these 2 teams seem to be on a collision course. The Ravens and Niners are on a collision course, basically. The rest of this list is a crapshoot. Every list you look at is going to be different 3 through 10. You're going to have the same top 10 teams, but every single list is going to be different, except for the top 2. It's going to be Niners at 2. They can beat anyone if they get the lead. If they get a lead, they're unbeatable. They'd go undefeated if they got a lead. They would be undefeated in every game if they started out with a lead. The Ravens beat them, though, and they're just on fire right now. We talked about the Ravens already. They're on a huge run right now. They're looking scary good. These two teams look to be on a collision course for the Super Bowl, which very exciting Super Bowl. We had that Super Bowl preview last week, which was a very exciting game. I was happy the Ravens won, and then the Eagles shit the bed this week. I thought the Ravens
We
helped out
helped
the
you
Niners.
guys.
Helped
They
us
did.
out,
We helped you.
but
Help the Eagles, man.
Eagles shit the bed. But
I
these
don't
two
want to see that
teams are
Super
on a
Bowl, but
collision
yeah,
course. The
we saw
rest
that
of
in
this list
2013.
is a crapshoot. I'm pretty sure you would agree with that. Like,
Oh, absolutely. I think that just looking at the top 10, right? Every one of those teams, you could say, you know what, they're probably going to win this week, right? They could win this
yeah,
game. They could win this game. And every one of
like
those teams on this list, you're like, no, they could lose this game too. And here's how. It's
yeah,
weird.
like
It's a very weird
with
season.
the 3-10 met with your 3-10, the Eagles already beat the Dolphins by multiple
Yep.
points too. With my Eagles at 8, Bills at 3. Eagles beat the Bills. Like,
Yeah.
it's just such a crapshoot 3 through 10. Like, would you be?
Hold
I
on.
wouldn't be shocked if the Browns beat the Bills.
Hold on. The Browns beat the Niners and the Ravens.
Yeah, the Browns beat
mean,
those two teams. The Browns
just
beat some
saying, it's
top
always
teams.
possible. Yeah.
They're the top 2 teams right now. Those are pretty evident though, and I don't
They're
think
both
any.
healthy too. That's the
Yeah,
big key. They're both healthy. You know, a couple
I don't think those
minor
get
players out,
any
but
disagreement.
yeah. Yeah, sounds good,
Now,
man.
before we get into locks to end the episode, I want to ask you, what are your thoughts on this Vegas trip? What are you looking forward to with the Vegas trip? We're all going to Vegas with a group of 20 people. Group chat's
Do I have to
already
keep
getting
this
spammed. I
PC?
had to put it on mute.
Same. That goes on mute immediately. You want me to keep this PC for your audience?
Somewhat PC. You can
Okay.
drop hints.
It's going to be a lot of poker. I'm bringing the girl, and she's never been to Vegas either, so she'll get to experience it because usually just guys trip out to Vegas. There's going to be a lot of gambling, a lot of poker, and
Strip
a
club.
lot of adult entertainment facilities. That's what we'll call them.
Yeah.
That's PC.
I know you guys are going to be dragging me out to the
You're 100%
strip club.
going.
Yeah,
I'm going to put
you guys
money
are
in your
gonna.
hand and say, you're going to go, and here's your money that you could spend. You don't think you spend your own money, and you're going.
I
gonna
wouldn't
happen.
take the money because I'm taking out a decent amount of money, but I know I'm getting dragged
It's
to the
fine.
strip club one of the nights.
As long as you're going. Just once. That's all I need. Just once.
For people that don't know, this is a group trip with people from a free poker league. The other guy I was going to have on, he runs it. His name is Gary Lance. He actually came in second in the national championship for Free Poker Network in 2020. So we're looking to have someone finish that high again. Hopefully someone can take it home. But
Yeah, man.
it's going to be a very fun trip. We got a tag team poker tournament, which will be fun. Tag team belts. Hopefully my next podcast, I can have whoever from our group wins that on, and we can show off the belts.
Discount double check belt going on.
Which would be so cool to show those off on the stream. What got you into poker? I've asked people that a lot. Like, how did you start playing poker?
Oh, we don't have a long enough session for that. But I've been playing poker since I was, I think, like 13, 14 years old. My dad played poker, and my dad taught me how to play poker when I was young, and learn how to gamble from my dad. So it's his fault I have a gambling problem. Sorry, Dad. But yeah, no, I've been playing poker for 20 plus years now. Started with little $5 poker tournaments in my living room with friends like Jim. Jim used to come to those, Jim.
Dan.
And then Dan for sure too. And then now it's at the point where I play a couple times a week and online and in person and all that stuff. Yeah. Poker paid for a lot of my extravagance in life.
My parents used to have home games when I was growing up, and I would watch them. They let me sit down and play a hand once, and I knocked out one of their friends, and I guarantee I didn't know what I was doing. Still don't to a degree, but
You're
It
okay now.
was
You're okay now.
it was very funny. I knocked him out, and they were like, "No, get back in." He was, and then
Yeah.
there was a funny story I had. I was 6. I've told people this story a few people this story before. My parents used to bowl in a bowling league, and I used to go with them every Friday night. I was 6, 7, sitting near like one of the doors. These teenage girls come in.
God.
I start teaching them. I sit them down in a circle. I guarantee I didn't know how to play. Like I just knew what like aces were, kings were. I sit them all down in a circle and start teaching them how to play poker. One of the attendants, like at the bowling alley, like called my mom over and had her hide behind like the counter and was like, "Holly,
Just
you got to
watching.
look at this. You got to look at this. Your son's teaching them how to play these
So
teenage
you're
girls
saying
how to play poker."
at 6 you had more game than you do now? What the
Yeah,
hell? Oh, we gotta
I
fix
was
that, man. We gotta fix
I
that.
was a 6-year-old trying to teach 16-year-olds how
You
to
should
play
have got the number,
poker,
man.
and I didn't even know how to play.
So what? So what? They gave you the
That's
time of day. Just take it.
like I don't even know what I was doing. I'd probably just I probably walked up to them and was like, "Hey, you guys want us to learn how to play poker? You guys want to play poker with me?" I don't even
You
know
should
what
do
I
that with girls
said.
now. Just bring a deck of cards with you to a casino or to like a bar or something like that. Like, you want me to teach you how to play poker? It'll work. It'll work. Trust me. You gotta
Yeah,
say it with
that's one of
confidence. You'll
my
be all right.
earliest memories of poker. It was funny, but
Oh man.
I want to get into Pat's picks, and then Luke's locks to round out the episode. As
Let's
I got
do
to
it.
get ready finish packing for my Vegas trip. I got to be at the airport. I leave at the time I'm recording this in 12 hours. I'll be on the airplane. Exactly
Yeah.
12 hours. I'll be on the airplane. By the time this
On the way
comes
to the
out, we'll
promised
already be in
land.
Vegas. Pat will be on his way
I'll
to
be on my
Vegas.
way. Yeah, I won't be there
Yeah,
yet.
but by the time this comes out, Pat will be on his way. A few other people will be
Yep.
on their way. But here's Pat's picks. He can go over them, go through them quickly, and then I'll speed through mine.
Well, I mean, they're pretty basic. I think the Saints are going to win the division. So Saints over Falcons -3. It's really just to pick them. I think the Saints are a
Mhm.
better team than the Falcons. Quarterback sucks for the Falcons, so it's easy there for me. Bucks -5.5 over the Panthers. Panthers are again. It's like an easy win for them. They have to win. They're going to win. They need a rebound from that game last week. Mike Evans needs a better game. He cost me a fantasy championship this year. I still love Mike Evans though, but yeah, bad game.
Lucky
Raiders
that
over
Josh
the
Jacobs thing
Broncos.
didn't affect you.
It didn't matter. That league, I
Yeah.
was destined to lose after CD scored 55
Sonny had
points or
the best
whatever it
team
was.
ever.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Even though I had Lamar throw 5 touchdowns, I still lost by like 20 points. It's fine. We're not going
Sorry
to talk
to
about
interrupt,
this.
but Sonny
What?
had the guys in our league, for people who don't know, Sonny had the greatest like starting lineup I've ever seen in a fantasy league. ETN,
Yeah,
Rashad White, CD Lamb, Tyreek Hill, George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk. Like that's a god squad.
they all had good games too.
Yeah.
CD is all it was. It doesn't matter. All right, so the third one here is the Raiders -2.5 over the Broncos. Stidham actually played really well. I was actually shocked how well he did play. I just think the Raiders are playing with more pride than the Broncos will, and
Yeah.
it's just going to come down to that. Rams +3 over the Niners. The Niners don't have anything to play for. They're probably going to rest Purdy. They're probably going to rest Trent Williams. They're probably going to rest CMC. They got 7 guys there, 6 or 7 guys they can rest. Those 3 are definitely going to be down. And without those 3, that offense ain't moving anywhere. I mean, Darnold
Yeah.
came in relief last week or against the Ravens 2 weeks ago and looked terrible again. So don't have really a lot of confidence in them. And then the Commanders +13.5. Mine was over +13, but still +13.5 over the Cowboys. So I don't think the Commanders are going to win the game, not by any stretch of the imagination. But division games are always a lot closer than people
Yeah.
realize, and 13.5 is so many points. Just so
Yeah,
many
that's it.
points. Like
Commanders
I
beat
don't
the
know.
Cowboys last year in the last week of the season.
I mean, they always play you guys tough. They play the Eagles tough and they play the Cowboys tough. And I don't know why. They're not a good team, and Ron Rivera is going to get fired the Monday after this game is over. But like they're gonna cover that spread, I think.
I'll get into Luke's locks to round out the episode. I've been on fire with these picks. I'm picking at a 62% clip against
That's
the
not bad
spread,
at
which
all.
is really good. But Jaguars -4.5. I like that pick this week. The Jaguars against the Titans. Trevor Lawrence should be back, so they should
That's
be
the
able to
only
pull that
cure.
game off.
If Lawrence plays, I'm with you. If Lawrence doesn't play, I don't know.
Yeah, if Lawrence doesn't play that game, I would probably take the Titans. But
Yeah.
Jaguars should be able to win that game if Lawrence plays by a touchdown or more.
Agreed.
Jets +2.5. I think this is it. Neither team's really playing for anything, but I think this is a game where the Jets finally beat the Patriots. The Jets have more to play for in this game than the Patriots. They have pride to play for to be the team that finally beats Bill Belichick and the Patriots in what might be Bill Belichick's last ever game as the Patriots head coach, with his uncertainty there. Raiders -2.5. I like
Same
that
thing.
pick against the Broncos. It's more like a pride thing. They've been playing a bit better ever since they fired their head coach. They've been
McDaniels.
ever since they
Hire
fired
Antonio
McDaniels.
Pierce. Hire Antonio Pierce. That man
Like they
needs to be
should
the
have
head
done with
coach.
Rich Bisaccia a few years
Yes.
ago. But
2 years ago. It wasn't even
Seahawks,
that long ago.
yeah, it was 2 years ago
Yeah.
this time. Seahawks -3.5. I like the Seahawks that line against. I'm drawing a blank on who
Cardinals.
they're playing right now. Yeah, the Cardinals. The Seahawks should be able to beat the Cardinals by a touchdown. It's a division matchup, but they should be able to beat the Cardinals by a touchdown. Just don't pull an
The
Eagles.
couldn't. Don't pull it. The Eagles couldn't beat them.
Just don't pull an Eagles. You should be able to cover that spread easily if you're the Seahawks. You're fighting for a playoff spot. You should go out there and cover.
Yeah, I agree.
And then I like the Rams. I have them at +3.5 on this line. I did it with ESPN. I have all the half point lines, so it could give me
That's
a
fine.
record. So Rams +3.5 against the Niners. Niners aren't playing for anything. I think that's a stone cold lock. I don't know how they're not favored. Actually, they should be favored by 4.5.
I agree.
Honestly, so
Especially since the Eagles lost and they locked up the bye. Like, there's no reason for them to play any of their starters.
Only thing I would I would set if I was Vegas, I'd set that line at 4.5. I think 4.5 would be a perfect line for that. For the Rams,
Yeah,
minus
Rams
4.5.
-4.5. Yeah.
So I'm getting 7 free points. I'll take that all day long.
Absolutely.
Rams +3.5. That'll end this episode though of Uncaged Sports Talk. It'll come out when we're all in Vegas. I'll be having a fun time. Won't be worried. I'll try to get a post out about this for people watching it. I'll get a post on Twitter, get a post on Facebook, Instagram, if I get a chance. I'll probably be making that post when I'm hungover, so sorry if there's any typos.
Still drunk.
So that'll do it for this episode of Uncaged Sports Talk. Thank you for coming on, Pat. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe on all of our platforms. It is greatly appreciated. Tune in next week as we get into some playoff talk for episode 24 of Uncaged Sports Talk. Again, Happy New Year, everyone, and enjoy the week. Enjoy the final week of the regular season.